Kia ora, good evening. Environment Southland say the number of submissions in response to proposed changes to address air quality issues was overwhelming, but expected to a degree. Southlanders will now get the opportunity to support or oppose the almost 800 submissions received on the Air Plan Review, aimed at improving the region's air quality.
The majority of those are in opposition to the rules, which is generally expected with any plan change. But there are a minority of, we would expect probably 95% are in opposition to the rules and about 5% in support.
What are the main concerns from submitters?
The main concern is around the timeframes for implementing these rules, with the National Environmental Standards setting compliance dates for 2016 and 2020. We're under reasonably tight timeframes to do that, and as a result we're asking the community to make changes quite quickly, and that's been the major concern really, is around the phasing out of burners and what is an appropriate timeframe for the community to do so.
What about their options of fuel for burning?
We've tried not to limit the fuels that can be burnt. We're still allowing coal to be burnt, for example, but we have, as through the consultation process, we had a number of suggestions about high sulphur coal, so we've proposed that that's prohibited from use, but through this process, as with all these rules, there's able to be changes made through this, first through submissions and then through the hearing process.
Normally you have 10 working days to look at those submissions. You're actually going to leave it open for 20 working days this time around? Yeah,
that's right. The summary of submissions document with the number of submissions is very large, so we want to give people ample time so that they can read through thoroughly and then make a further submission on that. So we're giving them 20 working days to do so.
And what's the process from there?
And from there we will then go through and make comments and process those submissions, and look to hold hearings around May, June, so that people can publicly present to Council in terms of supporting their submission further.
In terms of geographical spread, where were the majority of the submitters from?
Most of the submitters came from Gore. We had a really good community response from Gore, but there's still Invercargill was well supported too, and there were still a few rural ones because the plan changes go wider than just domestic heating. There's also outdoor burning, agrochemical and fertiliser use are in there as well.
Figures released today show over 140,000 people in New Zealand are out of work. The official unemployment rate has risen to 5.7% in the 2014 December quarter compared to 5.4% in the previous quarter. While Southland's unemployment rate rose 0.1%, employment was sitting at 71% for the region in December compared to 68.4% in the previous quarter. Statistics New Zealand said the growth in employment could not keep up with the record number of people entering the country's labour force, with participation reaching a record rate of 69.7%. A larger than expected jump in the price of whole milk powder has led to a rise in dairy product prices in the latest global dairy trade auction, and with it the New Zealand dollar.
The New Zealand dollar jumped almost 2 US cents after whole milk powder prices soared more than 19% in the global dairy trade auction. The Kiwi surged as high as 74.36 US cents ahead of the auction result. Fonterra announced last week it would be reducing the volume of products sold on the global dairy trade for the remainder of the season due to dry conditions, which is believed to have triggered a change in market sentiment and renewed buyer interest. The increase in whole milk powder makes it more likely Fonterra can reach its forecast payout of $4.70 per kilogram of milk solids, with Agri HQ raising its estimate to $4.55.
Strong winds in the south have prompted a warning from WasteNet for Southlanders to be wary of their waste. WasteNet's asking Southland residents to be vigilant over their rubbish and recycling bins if their area is experiencing high winds. The strong wind is causing bins to fall onto streets and footpaths, posing a hazard to motorists and pedestrians. WasteNet said there were several steps people could take to mitigate the effects of the wind, including bringing bins in as soon as possible, picking up any fallen bins or litter, and if bins have blown over from neighbouring properties, pulling them up against a nearby fence. Child immunisation targets have been hit in the south, with the Southern District Health Board achieving immunisation of 95% of 8-month-old babies.
For the same month, the Southern DHB also met targets for toddlers, immunising 95% of 2-year-olds on time. According to the Southern DHB, commitment and collaboration by health professionals is behind its success. Nurses, GPs, outreach teams and the vaccine preventable disease team have worked extremely hard to ensure high levels of immunisation coverage. This year, the Ministry of Health are looking to increase immunisation coverage for 6-month-olds in hopes it will enable the maintenance of a higher coverage rate at the 8-month mark.
Do stay with us. Coming up on the bulletin, the inspector who proposed a relocation of Bluff police officers speaks with us exclusively. Welcome back. The proposal to relocate police officers from the seaside town of Bluff has caused the town's community board to take action. Sharon Rees has more.
The Bluff Community Board has called a public meeting to discuss the proposal to relocate its police officers, which, in a petition being circulated by a member of the board, was labelled an outrage. Community Board Chairman Raymond Five said the policing cuts were one of the most significant issues the town has faced in recent times, and the feeling in the community seemed very much opposed to the move. The proposal from police, which is still in its consultation phase, is based on crime levels and policing priorities in the area.
At this stage, the Bluff proposal restructure is in our consultation phase. So at the moment, we've given a period of time for our police staff to put a submission in. It is a proposal, and there's certainly nothing set in concrete. There's several factors we have to take into account. I guess the thing is, a wee bit of history is that we've done a 3-month scoping exercise where we've put all our rural stations, but also some of our sort of medium-sized stations. We've put quite a few factors and criteria that we've looked at, and we've done that, putting that through the last 3 to 5 years. So we've got a lot of data there, and the data very clearly indicates to us that certainly that the Bluff station at 3-person is potentially over-resourced. So we do need to look at where we're putting our staff to meet demand.
In the year to June 2012, there were 179 reported crimes. This figure has since decreased by over 30%, with 126 incidents reported in the year to June 2014. While the figures for incidents reported from October to December 2014 aren't available, some Bluff residents believe there has been an increase in crime in these months.
Unfortunately, we do get an increase in burglaries this time of the year over Christmas, New Year period. And so that would be common right across the whole area, not just particularly in Bluff. But the main focus that we want to look at under the proposal is we want to put a full-time community constable there, and that community constable will be based in Bluff. I see media reports says that it will be based in Invercargill. Well, that's absolutely not correct. The proposal is that the position would be based in Bluff. That position will definitely be looking at medium to long-term risks and problem solving. And unfortunately, our staff at the moment down there don't have the capacity to do that because they are responding to other jobs. So we see that a community constable down there will actually have a better impact in relation to problem solving and getting into things like family violence and looking at what the issues are and working with the community to solve those. What I would say though is that if the proposal again does go ahead, is that we would have staff rostered to work out in that Bluff area as we do with other stations over that period where that constable is not working. And they would be carrying out activities like road policing, doing hotel visits and prevention taskings, bail checks, that sort of thing.
The Bluff Community Board is holding a meeting for people to voice their opinions. Could a majority of people opposing it have an effect on the decision?
Well, I'm certainly going to go to the meeting. I've been invited to attend, so I'll certainly get no doubt get a sense from what the community's feeling down there, which is why I want to attend. But also I think it's important that the community hears from me as to what the proposal is looking like, what service delivery we will still deliver, and why we put that proposal in. I think it's very important that I emphasise that we've looked at this right across the whole area. We haven't just looked at Bluff in isolation, and we have 3 to 5 years worth of data. So we've got some very good data there that gives us some good foundations to look at a recommendation moving forward.
The Bluff Community Board public meeting will be held on February 9, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall in Bluff. Sharon Rees, South Today News.
And we caught up with a prominent Bluff community volunteer today to see what she thought of the proposal.
When I was first advised, I was shocked, to be quite honest. How is our community going to be looked after when we're told that safety is a priority in policing? How is the community going to be looked after? I just found it very hard to take in, like the rest of the residents.
So you've had a bit of feedback from the public about this?
I have. I've had quite a lot of residents ring me up. I had an elderly lady the first morning ring me up in quite a state, wanting to know what's going on, Mary. Being on her own, you could understand how she was feeling. She was very shaken.
So how important is that police presence in Bluff?
It's very important. With a group of guys that we've got at the present time, we've had for some time, they're very highly respected in the community. And if anything goes wrong at an address or wherever, because they've been with us for so long, they go immediately to that. They know where to go. If we get somebody new, it's going to take them a long time to have that knowledge and for the community to accept them, because we're a very close community and it will be hard for somebody new.
If crime rates in Bluff have been decreasing, as Inspector Lane told us said, isn't 3 police officers overmanning the area?
Definitely not. You've got to think of the shift work that they work, the hours they work on a particular, they might be supposed to knock off at a certain time, but because of the situation they can't. They put in long hours some days when we're told that we're going to have somebody from 8 till 5. Then if anybody's got any real difficult situation, the time they ring 111, if it's that kind of emergency, you can end up going through Christchurch, Wellington, Dunedin, and anybody that's in real trouble, you've got to wait on those lines a lot of the time before you get somebody to speak to. So how long is it going to take before you get help? We have a lot of business in our community, and I can understand why the people are thinking like that. What is going to happen to us?
And that's it from the news team this Wednesday. Coming up next is the weather, followed by sport from us. Good night.